Let the bells ring out and the banners fly. Feast your eyes on me. It's too good to be true, but I'm here. I'm here.
For years, the physical media community has been begging Warner Archive for a proper high-definition restoration of Aladdin and his Lamp. Well, the day has finally come. I mean, look at the colors of that Genie. So we aren't getting just previously unreleased shorts today, we are getting these brand new jaw-dropping restorations that completely change the way you watch these cartoons. So in this video, let's talk about the Looney Tunes Collector's Vault Volume 2. So this set was released back in March in 2026, and just for those who might have discovered this video and not seen my earlier videos, just a quick reminder of how this series actually works. So it's a 2-disc set. Disc 1 features shorts that are completely new to physical media. So you might have seen some of these on streaming, but they've never been ported otherwise. Disc 2 is dedicated to the new to Blu-ray shorts, meaning things that were previously stuck on DVD, like on the Golden Collection or the Looney Tunes Superstar series. One interesting thing though, you'll notice that there's 51 shorts instead of 50 like it was on Volume 1. This is Warner Archive making good on accidentally duplicating the short Double or Mutton, because that appeared on the Collector's Choice Volume 4 set. So they're giving us an extra short here to balance the scales, as it were. So it's nice to see a company correcting their mistakes. But let's get into it. We're going to dive right into the 4 brand new restorations, which are the main attraction. And this is actually the main reason why you want to buy this set. I mean, that's not to say that the rest is garbage or anything. I mean, think of it as like sprinkles on top of a really beautiful donut. So, on disc 1, you get those 4 brand new restorations, and I want to take a minute or so to talk about why these 4 in particular are such a massive win for the animation community. Eventually, look, I want everything restored. I've said this before on many videos on this channel. Yes, even shorts like Tokyo Jokyo, Going to Heaven on a Mule, and the entire Buddy library. But we want the good stuff done first, don't we? Now, as you saw in the intro, we already have Bob McKimson's Aladdin and his Lamp from 1948, and boy, every time I see posts announcing new Looney Tunes sets, this is one that everyone wanted, and I can't blame them. This is actually pretty good. Yeah, it cannot be understated how long fans have been demanding this one to be restored. There might have been issues involving the original negative or something. I don't know the full story as to why this one had taken so long and why it was overlooked. It might have been considered in the past, but it doesn't matter because now we have this beautiful new restoration, and if you've only ever seen this on an old broadcast print or a Laserdisc print, the colors look like they were dragged through the mud, but here the colors pop, and it is a fine restoration by the team over at Warner Archive. Now, for those who aren't aware, this short is actually significant because of the Genie. That voice might actually sound familiar to you. It's Jim Backus. This was his one and only Looney Tunes short. He was a massive radio star at the time, and he would end up going on to voice Mr. Magoo, and perhaps most famously for a lot of people, play Thurston Howell III on Gilligan's Island. So having his one and only appearance over at Termite Terrace is finally preserved in high definition, and again, it is an absolute treat.
3 cheers and a tiger for me. I have won. Listen, my little buck-tooth pal. I'll celebrate by granting you a wish.
The next one's an interesting one. It's a black and white short, and I didn't think they were going to actually get to this one due to the stereotypes within. I'm not going to get into that, but you can see why they might have been hesitant to do this one. But you've got the Daffy Duckaroo from 1942, directed by Norm McCabe. Now, for those who don't know, Norm McCabe had a very brief run as a director. He helped Bob Clampett co-direct 2 shorts because Clampett fell ill, and eventually McCabe ended up having his own unit. But he was then drafted into World War II, so he only made black and white shorts. But here the restoration wasn't just cleaning up the image as you would expect. No, they actually restored a long-lost scene. When I reviewed this on the channel, I didn't have access to the scene, but now we can finally see it, and it's an interesting one. So in the very beginning, you have Daffy singing My Little Buckaroo, but there was actually a cut in there. Now the reason for that is because his trailer had him declared as a Warner Brothers star, and when this short was licensed for television syndication in 1955, Jack Warner ordered all references to the studio removed from TV broadcasts. He just wasn't a fan of TV. But finally, that missing footage is back where it belongs, and the short itself looks stunning.
Close your sleepy eyes, my little buckaroo, while the light of western skies is shining down on you. Don't you know it's time for bed, another day is through, so hit the hay, my little buckaroo. Howdy, you all.
It's another win from Warner Archive, and it's always good to see these quote-unquote lost scenes. I mean, it was never really lost. There was a print circulating around, but it's good that we've got the full thing properly restored and available to watch at any time on this disc. Now, we also have another one that people were demanding for quite a while, and that's Friz Freleng's Ain't That Ducky from 1945. And part of the reason people thought that this might have been overlooked is because of one particular scene involving Daffy having the pickaninny haircut. But this was actually slated for an earlier DVD years ago, but it was shelved because, from what I understand, the source material was just too difficult to deal with using the technology of the time, which would have been the late 2000s. And it's a very similar situation to the years-long wait we've had to have for Beanstalk Bunny, which finally had its HD debut on the Collector's Choice Volume 1 set, and I've links below to all those reviews for the Collector's Choice if you want to check out what's on those sets. But aside from the visual upgrade, this actually has an interesting bit of trivia. As most of you might already know, whenever there was a celebrity that was parodied, they would usually rely on Mel Blanc or Stan Freberg or someone to do a sound-alike. But for this short, the famous actor at the time, Victor Moore, actually offered to come in and voice the little man caricature himself, completely for free. He just wanted an original drawing from the studio, and he made Friz Freleng draw a little bit of extra hair on his head because he was self-conscious about his boldness.
Oh, hunting I will go, hunting I will go, oh, dearie, oh, hunting I will go.
But that aside, this one's funny, and it actually has one of my favorite endings in any Looney Tunes short. So I'm glad that it's finally been restored, and our fans can stop clamoring for it on social media. Now, rounding out our 4 major restorations is another Freleng classic, I Tore a Putty Tat from 1948. Now, I personally first encountered this short on Bugs Bunny Superstar, and I've noticed that it never looked good even then, and it was actually unrestored when that DVD came out of that documentary. So they used restorations for everything, but this was the last one that was not. So finally, that's been rectified. We can finally see how it should truly look. In fact, with this restoration done, I believe only Tom Tom Tomcat is the final short that is yet to be restored in the Sylvester and Tweety output. Given that the Daffy Duckaroo has been restored and you have Native Americans in that one, I'm sure that leaves the door open for Tom Tom Tomcat to finally be restored, because that one's actually a very fascinating one. But this is actually a crucial early entry in the Sylvester and Tweety dynamic. The pairing had won an Oscar the year before. But here we've got something interesting because it's actually a remake of Frank Tashen's 1943 black and white short Puss in Booty. And it actually is interesting watching the two different directors tackle the exact same ideas and almost the same script. It's not quite the same, but it is very close. So on the one hand, you get to see Tashen's cinematic live-action camera angles and beautiful black and white imagery, and it's the final black and white short, by the way, in the Looney Tunes history, if you don't count the Private Snafu shorts. But then you can compare it to Freleng's impeccable music timing and different way of handling gags. But now we have both looking pristine in full HD 1080p quality, and you can compare the two. I don't think either one is better than the other. I think they both have their strengths, but at the very least, we can watch this short in the way it's supposed to be.
They the same thing. Clean out the bird cage. Clean out the bird cage. Come on, little birdie. Out you go. You still ain't finished the job.
Another cool thing on disc 1, aside from those 4 new restorations, is that Art Davis's The Rattled Rooster gets its original title cards back, replacing that old blue ribbon reissue. So that's definitely a win in my book. I'd love to see as many of the original title cards put back. Yes, the cartoons are the most important element, but if we can find the original cards and we can restore them, let's put them back. Now, what about disc 2? So, these are shorts that we've already had on the Golden Collection DVDs and the Superstar sets, so why even upgrade? Aside from the fact that the HD quality really makes these cartoons shine, and it even shows how beautiful these restorations were back when they were done in the 2000s with different technology. But they've also used the opportunity to fix a few things from the past, having a look at 2 Tweety and Sylvester shorts. So you've got A Bird in the Guilty Cage and The Last Hungry Cat. When these were on the Golden Collection Volume 2, around that time, Warner Brothers were experimenting with DVNR, so digital video noise reduction, and the software was supposed to remove dirt, but it couldn't quite tell the difference between film dirt and fast-moving animation lines, So that's why some animation sets at that time, you'll notice some of the animation lines are blurred out. And unfortunately, a lot of those restorations made it to those sets. Even though DVD had a lower resolution anyway, it's harder to notice, but it will definitely stand out if those were put on Blu-ray. So for this Blu-ray, they just bypassed those original DVD masters and just used the re-restored streaming versions that do not have those issues. So you can see these cartoons as they should look. We also get Awful Orphan and Frigid Hare upgraded from their Golden Collection Volume 1 masters. Now, in Volume 1, none of the masters used there were high definition masters. They were just using whatever was lying around because they didn't even know if it was going to be a success or not at the time, so they just used whatever. But what we're seeing here are the new streaming version HD masters, and they've now been put onto disc and they look pretty good. But Frigid Hare does show some artifacts in there from DVNR, so that one probably could have used another pass to get that fixed up. But it's still a massive leap over what was on that DVD. And Hop and Go is a curio because it actually was released on the Golden Collection Volume 6, but it was a quote-unquote bonus short, so it wasn't actually restored then, and it even had the wrong soundtrack. So here, Warner Archive has given us the proper, fully restored short that was used for streaming, along with the corrected audio. So if you're a fan of that kangaroo, I mean, just because I'm Aussie, I'm not exactly the biggest fan of it, but anyway, at least you can see it as it's supposed to look. And that's another example of a Norm McCabe directed short, in case you wanted to see something else that wasn't a Daffy Duck or Porky Pig short that he did. What's really interesting though is that this is actually the first Vault set to feature audio commentaries. Now these were all imported, by the way, from the Golden Collections that had heaps of audio commentaries. For me, the Greg Ford tracks and the Michael Barrier tracks of those Golden Collection sets are always fantastic when they would have archival audio of the actual directors themselves talking about the specific short being discussed. So for the Heckling Hare and Mexican Borders, we actually hear Tex Avery and Friz Freleng. But for completionists, they ported over a lot of the commentaries, but they left off John Kricfalusi's track on Cause for Alarm. I'm not going to say much about that, just look it up and you can probably understand why they chose not to bring it over. So if you really need to hear him talk about a cartoon, keep your Golden Collection Volume 3 DVD set. But also Greg Ford's track for Woe Begone didn't end up making it, so I would suspect the Greg Ford track was probably just a simple little oversight. So again, keep those old DVDs. I still have them, so even though we've gotten a lot of picture quality upgrades over time, I still think they're fantastic sets. In fact, I tell a lot of people that is actually one of the best ways to start your Looney Tunes physical media collections because they're quite cheap as well. And to answer the question, because every time I make one of these reviews, are these uncut? Yes, they're all uncut. So to wrap it up, if you want to know what else is on this set, I'm just going to do a bit of a rapid fire roll call for the rest of the set. So you've got Bugs Bunny in Bowery Bugs, Hair Remover and the Heckling Hare. Daffy Duck shines in Boston Quacky, Wisecrackers, and You Were Never Duckier. Porky gets a great run with Mouse Menace, The Pest Who Came to Dinner, Wagon Heels, Awful Orphan, and Often an Orphan, the later two bringing Charlie Dog into the mix. We get Chuck Jones's brilliant Claws for Alarm and Jumpin' Jupiter, which are the second and third of the Porky and Sylvester spooky trilogy, and that pairs up very nicely with Friz Freleng's creepy Hide and Hare. For Road Runner fans like myself, you're going to get Fastest with the Mostest, Ready, Set, Zoom, Stop, Look and Hasten, To Beep or Not to Beep, and Zoom at top. Foghorn Leghorn rules the roost in The Egg-Sided Rooster, one of the greatest Looney Tunes names of all time, of course. Mother Was a Rooster, Sock-a-Doodle-Doo, and Crowing Pains. Pepper Le Pew gets Odor of the Day and Sentimental Over You. Plus we get Ralph Wolf and Sam Sheepdog in A Sheep in the Deep and Woolen Underwear. Ha ha. We also get the Goofy Gophers in Pests for Guests and I Go For You, which is an aggressively terrible dad joke title, but we love that, don't we? Sylvester also shows up in A Street Cat Named Sylvester, Foul Weather, and Dr. Jekyll's Hide. And rounding out the 51 are some true one-offs and early oddballs. So we've got Bone Sweet Bone, Bull of a Deer from the Bronx, The Bird Came COD, Country Boy, the Tom Thumb parody I Was a Teenage Thumb, Little Blabbermouse, To Each His Own, and A Waggly Tail. So all in all, this is a magnificent set and another home run from the Warner Archive team, and matches quite nicely with the Collector's Choice Volumes 1 to 4 and the Collector's Vault Volume 1 release. They have announced Volume 3, so I definitely want you guys to let me know in the comments which unrestored short you want to see on this set. I know for me it's Screwball Football. I really want to see that one. I think it's an underappreciated Tex Avery classic that has one of the darkest jokes in Looney Tunes history, and I think people will really enjoy rediscovering that one. But definitely let me know. And also let me know, if you already got the set, what was the first short you ended up watching? And if you intend to get the set, the same. Which one are you going to watch first? But that will do it for this one. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and until next time, take care.